Hello, guys. Welcome back for episode 19. First order of business, I'd like you all to subscribe on Spotify and follow us on iTunes. On today, our discussion will be wrapping up a three-part series. First being near-death experiences, second, reincarnation, and today we'll be talking about one of the most misunderstood topics in the world, the consciousness. Today on the show, we'll have Lisa and we'll have our fill-in. What are you again?
A guest?
A guest? No, we called you something else the last time.
A reoccurring guest?
Reoccurring regular.
Yes.
That's what it was. Mm-hmm. Before we go on to our topic today, we've been getting quite a few listeners. I've been seeing a lot of downloads, but I don't see any messages. So if you guys want to be a part of the conversation, if you guys have anything you'd like to add to the conversation, email me, jwcarterfilmworks@gmail.com. Join the Facebook group, Mysteries and Beliefs Podcast, and follow me on, iTunes? No, I already said iTunes, right?
You did.
Instagram.
And thank you guys for listening.
And thank you again for listening. And on to the topic. In today's discussion, I don't have a lot of notes. People don't know what consciousness is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not I could sit back here today and just spew out research data and that's it.
Right.
Because you really can't get the experience of the research at all. Just even watching it is difficult to understand because we know so little about the consciousness. I mean, they could only speculate with the data that I've seen in some of the lectures and some of the research I've watched.
There are thousands of books.
But some of the books are people's experiences, and that's what we can go by. And we can only go by real life experiences on this. Research studies will give you some data on the subject, but it doesn't give any conclusion with the data at all. It just tells you, like, for instance, some of the research that I took a look at was by the gentleman of Anel Seth. He is a professor at the University of Sussex in England. What was cool about they made a set of VR glasses, and these VR glasses, what they did is kind of mimic what psychedelics did because they were studying the consciousness.
Right.
So they made these VR glasses to make people
see
dogs.
Oh.
So what it was, however, they programmed these glasses for the subject to put them on. And when they walked around and looked at people or all over the environment, all they saw was dogs, like dogs coming out of people's arms. Dogs was
That's kind of cool.
sky.
That's creepy.
And all that. It was, you have to look at it and see what I'm talking about. But it was weird because you see a normal person walking towards you and all of a sudden a dog starts to come out of their arms.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And this kind of mimics, like I said, what psychedelics does. But you really can't get a true understanding of how the consciousness plays on that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just a trick? Because they kind of tweaked it to make it happen that way. I mean, because you're not really doing the psychedelics. When you're in psychedelics, your mind starts to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I haven't done it, so I don't know how it really works. But your mind travels. But with this, your mind's not really traveling. It's all a visual thing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I can't really understand how you can, sum that up into your consciousness.
Right.
Well, yeah, you'd have to take a look at the entire video that you watched because I don't know what relates to the VR glasses in general.
Well, yeah, all it was is they were on this particular study, they were mimicking the effects of psychedelics.
Oh, okay.
And what he does, again, he studies consciousness. And of course, people do psychedelics to delve into their consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So they made this program on these VR glasses to mimic or as close as they can to what psychedelics does to you when you take them.
Specifically to see dogs?
No, not specifically to see dogs, but they could have but they only programmed it to see dogs. That's all.
That's what I'm saying. But
they could have programmed it to see cows or chickens or whatever they wanted.
The reason why I'm asking is because did anybody see anything else?
No, because the glasses were specifically programmed to see dogs.
Okay.
then that was it. So, and what they did was they kind of upped it and downed it. So they programmed it to where the glasses would, everything you saw was dogs.
Right.
And then they downed it a little bit to where dogs were just popping out. And then they downed it a little bit more to where maybe just somebody's arm would have a dog on it.
Mm-hmm.
So they just did different levels of the way they did
What
these
was
VR
their
glasses.
finding? I mean, what was the point of the whole?
Just like I said, the point of it was to mimic what psychedelics do to you when you take them.
No, I'm okay.
Yeah,
That was
but
the
were
point.
they, measuring the brain as they were doing this?
They were measuring their brain activity.
Okay, yeah. Now I understand.
Okay.
So they did measure their brain activity to their EEG that they put on their head,
Sure.
Mhm.
and just to see how your brain is activated while you're doing this.
Right.
I'm trying to think of as far as the brain activation. He talked about psychedelic drugs, but I think it's way too much as far as being in this conversation today.
Yeah.
Because not only deals with this consciousness, it deals with religion, because some other countries use this as
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ceremonial
ceremonial
type
stuff like
Sure.
that. So I think what I'll do is hold off, and we'll do a whole separate podcast on just psychedelics. But I'll just mention some of the things that I saw on these studies dealing with psychedelics. And these are one of the things that these researchers use to try to understand the consciousness.
Right.
Back in the 50s, they had like projects called MK Ultra that the government did. From the 50s to the 70s, there was over 40,000 people that were part of these psychedelic studies with
Yeah.
LSD and the ayahuasca and these different drugs.
That's crazy.
There's a show on Netflix about it now.
Is it?
Yeah, it's called Wormwood.
Oh yeah, I saw that, but I never watched
it
it.
good?
I watched a few episodes. Yeah, it's interesting.
Is it?
Wow.
It's a documentary or?
It's like a docuseries because it's like actors playing the role, but of course there's, the
Oh,
real people
sure.
within it and all that, talking about the experience.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got to watch that. So
Yeah.
I actually got a couple of books that I'm going to read before we talk about the psychedelic drugs. But on to the consciousness. Again, it is very, I don't know, it's very, I can't even, like I said, I don't really even have any notes that I have right now. So it's just a conversation about, I don't know.
In
Can you help
general.
me?
I mean, I just know there's levels to consciousness in general as far as awareness when it comes to objects, animals, humans. It's
Right.
all different.
Yeah. And there's a guy, he said plants even have consciousness.
They do.
I've heard that. It's why. What was that experiment when you talk nice to the plant or
Yep.
the flower and it grows, and then you
Mhm.
talk mean?
Even
Same
water.
with water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard something before they were talking about dead water.
Mm.
I don't.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that before, but I've seen the video on the befores and afters of talking to the water. You tell it mean things, and it would happen.
And would it taste nasty?
It became cloudy.
The
and,
molecular
Yeah.
structure was different
Yeah.
than, the water that you spoke nice to and then the water that you said mean words to.
yeah,
Wow.
2 different glasses, and same with the plants.
Yeah, same with plants.
Yeah, they say you're supposed to talk to
Yeah,
your
you're
plants.
supposed to talk to your plants.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
what they say.
Like that movie that we watched, M. Night Shyamalan with Mark Wahlberg.
Was it called Trees?
The Happening.
Was it called The Happening?
Oh, was it?
It ended up being trees and blowing
Trees.
stuff from around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
but what
the-
happened to the
plants
people?
and
I
stuff.
don't even remember.
They went crazy when I guess these spores,
Yeah.
Sorry.
they inhaled them and then they, had some sort of, I don't know, reaction. They just acted crazy and
Yeah,
killed
it's been a while.
themselves.
M. Night Shyamalan should come up with movie ideas and let someone else do the movie.
That's not nice.
You mean the
The-
ending?
The
the ending.
Did you guys see that where they proved that there was a snail that actually turned into a zombie? I don't know if it has anything to do with consciousness, but I guess it would. It ate a certain plant.
So start over with that again.
It was a snail,
And that what?
and they showed the video of the snail turn. Do you remember that? What was that show? The show that Sigourney Weaver did, narrated. about the
No.
world. And remember the ant, you saw the ants carrying out the one that was infected.
Yeah.
And it went crazy. That's the same thing the snail did. And the snail turned colors and you could see its pulse moving through its antennae or whatever. Yeah. And they proved that it actually turned into a zombie snail.
Wow.
I mean, I wish I had more information to give you, but I saw that. But I wonder what that had to do with their consciousness, what took over to make it go, because somewhere inside it's still in you, kind of like The Walking Dead. You know how you already have the disease in you, or whatever, but you're still you, right?
Yeah.
To some point. What would you say?
I said like coronavirus.
The coronavirus, everybody has it in them.
Everybody has it. Maybe, listen, since it hasn't been proven, I mean, is it does it make you hallucinate and then you become whatever that is? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, did the snail eat the plant and then it made it hallucinate and then it became whatever?
Probably altered something in its DNA.
I know. So I'm really confused on how you're trying to explain what this thing is.
I'm confusing myself. I was just talking about I was just simply saying that the snail
no longer functioned the same way as the snail would.
So
it took
was
over.
This a television show? Was this a research study or just a video you saw?
It was a video, and that it had been proven that you can be zombied.
So I guess the point of the video was to make the snail into a zombie. Is that what that was?
It was proven that it can happen.
Brains.
Nobody knows what that means but you.
People watch zombie movies.
Nobody knows what that means.
Yes, they do. People watch zombie movies.
Well, the newer zombie movies aren't about the brains. It's them just eating people in general.
Yeah, that's true. But you have to shoot them in the head, though.
Yeah.
They kill them.
Mm-hmm.
All the zombies you do.
Well, yeah.
That's a little change up on the topic right there. Still consciousness. If these people, this is the shell of a body when you're a zombie, correct?
Right.
And they die. So does that mean that their spirit and their consciousness just leaves their body and just leaves this shell just running around?
Maybe.
I don't know. I feel like it's more complicated.
Well, the whole subject is complicated.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
because it's like they can still function, but it's like there's a different programming in there telling them to do something entirely different. You know what I mean? Like their, I guess, moral.
So who's programming them though?
I don't know. Because what turned them into zombies in the first place? Wasn't it like some spoiled meat in Zombieland?
Well,
was it really?
Yeah, I think it was like messed up cow meat. I can't remember.
I guess this is just whatever infection or whatever that they had that turned them into zombies.
Exactly.
But they end up dying at that point. I mean, what happens to that consciousness?
Right.
You said somebody programs them, but how do they just come back? Is it just your body and your brain just decides to do this and you just run around?
Well, like we said, energy never dies.
But
it only transforms.
We perceive our consciousness as the energy for our body.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, how can that be explained?
Right.
Yeah.
Good question.
I mean, I'm sure there's a broad spectrum of explanations, but when it really comes down to it, how much of that can we honestly process?
We can't hardly process any of it at all.
Exactly.
And just the same as in some of the research that I looked at, when people say they want to upload their consciousness into the cloud, it's not really uploading you into the cloud.
Nope. Mm-hmm.
It's just mimicking or mirroring your consciousness to the cloud. That's it.
Yeah. Right.
So it's just replicating the consciousness. So it's not really uploading you into the cloud.
Yeah. No, but it is kind of cool with what the strides that they've made with that, where people are having conversations with what their father was, or the VR with
that is a program that you can use for voice recognition and algorithms to answer back.
But
so that is really not that person's consciousness or that person's soul that you're really talking to.
Well, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because that would be impossible. But if you had something to talk back to you that had a resemblance of what was, doesn't that help? I mean, Then wouldn't that be therapy?
Yes.
Sure. The one lady, she can do her VR. What do you call it? Virtual reality goggles.
Yeah.
And she's in a room with her daughter, her 5-year-old daughter that passed away. And she gets to sit with her. And then there's another one where the daughter has conversations with her father, and it'll just pop up, hey, princess, or something to that effect. And she's like, hey, dad. Or he'll say, what's wrong? And she'll say, what's wrong? And then it'll reply back.
See, but
typically
that's just
in text
therapeutic.
format.
That's all
And then,
that is.
they have that. Sure. But I'm saying ultimately.
But the true essence of her father is not there.
Sure. I mean,
It's just a recording, pretty much.
Right now it is.
That's it. It's an intuitive recording.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah.
You know what kind of, threw me for a loop recently, even though this show came out some years ago, was Westworld.
Yes.
I have not finished it. I need to finish it, but I think I'm 1 episode or 2 episodes after when Thandie Newton's character, she wakes up on her own, and they're showing her how, she
became to be.
Yeah, she became to be, and she ends up malfunctioning for a little bit, and then she wakes up and she's like, all right, we'll change this, change that. Isn't that like interesting to think about how they're using these programs to make them believe that they are
something
or conscious or not just a machine in some way?
Because you don't know.
I haven't watched the whole show. I only watched a couple with you. I just remember when I was little, it gave me nightmares.
Well, that's the old one we're talking about. The HBO series.
It is good for what I watch, but I don't know what you guys are talking about.
On that note, how can you give a machine consciousness? And they always talk about AI taking over and becoming aware.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But how can they become conscious? They can't. I don't think there's no way possible, because they are not made of the same thing that we are. These are machines. These are X's and O's. These are algorithms. These are binary numbers that they go by. They're not blood and bone people.
But you can see how humans are somewhat the same. We're just giving completely different coding.
That's it.
Well,
I agree.
But the programming is a different way. But the programming is through our brain and through our mind. It's not through an actual computer that you have to tap on.
Mm-hmm.
And even if these, AI becomes sentient, they would still have to go through some type of electronic system in order to upgrade everything in their protocol that they're trying to put out.
Yeah.
Didn't you watch Exant?
That's aliens.
Taylor wasn't an alien.
Who's Taylor?
Taylor was the computer that him and that gentleman built together.
And Taylor is a computer. I mean, that's the same thing.
It's a system.
It's a system if you didn't watch Extant with Halle Berry and what's his name, that killed Glenn.
I can't remember his name.
Negan.
Jeffrey Dean. Anyway, Negan that killed. But with that, on that television show, they made a humanic, which is a living, functioning robot that's pretty much human, except for the consciousness. He has feelings. He has everything, but he does not have real consciousness.
He gets hungry.
But what happened with that is that Taylor was the program that was running the humanics operation.
So he was the base.
So he was the base of the operation that built these computers.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But at the end of it, if you didn't notice it, Taylor walked out, but he uploaded himself into one of the humanic robots.
Sure.
And left.
Right.
So he didn't switch consciousness. He just uploaded himself into a body.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So he didn't become
at the end
conscious.
Of the day, they're higher being.
Well,
that has nothing near here.
Higher being, and more intelligent maybe being, but they can't be a higher being.
Supreme being.
We turn off all electricity. They can use solar. One of them will figure out they'll use solar power. You can't really upload you into a machine because it will still be a machine. It doesn't matter how sophisticated that machine may be.
Right.
It's still a machine.
Mm-hmm.
So,
not yet.
It's not organic.
So from the time you die, where does that consciousness go?
Have you ever heard of the movie? I'm sorry. Have you ever heard of the movie Animatrix? I've never seen it, but I know the whole point of it.
What is it?
No.
So basically, I guess they're using, AI as we would, but mistreating it in a way. And the AI are like, all right, well, F this. And then they go and they build their own city, like their own stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't we watch it? I think we watched that.
No, but there's been several movies that's similar to that.
Oh, really? Well, then when
parts
they
in
left,
the movie may have been similar
go
to
ahead.
that.
Sorry.
Yeah, when they left, when all the AI left, that's when things in the human world start to completely like not work anymore. Nothing was working. So yeah, I want to see that movie. I gotta find it some way, somehow.
Yeah, the humans were trying to, not in the same movie, but they were trying to get rid of the AI. Some of them didn't know that they were AIs as well. And
I feel like this conversation is going more towards AI than
it is.
consciousness.
We
but it's
talked
one
about
and the
AI
same.
before.
Yeah.
It is. It's because everybody is afraid of AI taking over,
Right.
Skynet taking over, and we're just going to be we're truly going to be in the matrix is what everybody feels that we will end up being. We
Right.
may be in a matrix right now. We may be in some sophisticated program. So we don't know.
Right.
I don't know if we're in a simulation or not. We could be sitting here talking about this stuff and we are that.
We could be. That's true.
Like that movie.
Like that, I'm saying we could be something sentient. We could be just technology, but
Mhm.
extremely advanced technology.
Yeah.
I'd say so. To some degree, I'd say so.
There's an on-off switch to everything.
Mm-hmm.
When you turn something off, it's turned off. You can turn on and off a robot. You can turn on and off light. But as far as turning us off, the only thing it will really come to mind is if you go under anesthesia,
Mm-hmm.
you're totally turned off. Your
Sure.
light switch is turned off.
Right.
So at that point, where does your consciousness go?
Yeah.
Where does your mind go?
Right.
Everybody talks a lot about the consciousness wandering, people doing psychedelic drugs to get more awoke or more close to their conscious sort of feelings or whatever, the psychedelic drugs or whatever you want out of the psychedelic drugs.
Right.
At that point, when you're under anesthesia and your lights go out, I don't know anybody that remembers anything.
No.
There's only people who've had experiences where they were aware that they were being cut into.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, what those experiences is because the anesthesia is just not strong enough to do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And
It's-
that's scary to
It's
think
not
about.
because they're awake all the way
Mhm.
all the way out under anesthesia. It's just because they just had not had enough.
It didn't
Right.
turn off
Because-
something.
Because when you go under anesthesia for a surgery, they give you the anesthesia to put you down, but they also give you a paralytic.
Oh, yeah.
So you're paralyzed, but you can be awake.
Yep.
Back in when I used to work, I used to cover the OR quite a bit, and there was a nurse that was stealing some of the drugs. So what they would do is go in, take the drugs, and they would take
Nurse Betty. Sorry.
take half of the drugs off of the anesthesia
Mhm.
and just fill it with saline. So
Wow.
when, for instance, if they're giving you 200 milligrams of something, they're not really giving the 200 milligrams. They're only giving the 100.
Mm-hmm.
They get a full dose of the paralytic, so they're out.
Yeah, they can't move.
Halfway through the surgery, you wake up, but
And
you
you can't
can't move
move.
because you're still paralyzed.
Sure.
But the anesthesia has worn off.
Right.
And some people have experienced that. That's what it could be, that people remember being cut into
Yeah.
and things.
Right.
But people that are truly under anesthesia, I don't know no one that said their mind wandered or anything
They had
at all.
dreams.
And I mentioned this on another episode. I think it was maybe the first episode, Near Death Experience.
Mhm.
The default network, because I don't think you weren't a part of this, but the default network of your brain is where your brain goes to wander when it's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, are you sure she wasn't part
No,
of that?
she wasn't here.
no.
She wasn't here for
Oh,
this.
okay.
Again, under anesthesia, where's your brain gone? Where's your consciousness? Where's that anything? I mean, I've had several surgeries where I was under, and you go to sleep and you wake up like, oh, damn.
Y'all
Wake
did
up
the
in
surgery?
the-
Y'all
Yeah.
did this already? So you were,
Yep.
I mean, pretty much dead to the world.
Yeah.
It's especially I don't remember anything other than them saying, Lisa, wake up. Lisa, we need you to breathe.
Yeah,
Call your husband.
yeah. See, and that's it.
And we've all had moments where we've fallen asleep and didn't know we fell asleep. Though.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Where you wake
Yeah.
up and you're like, wait a second, I was knocked out.
Yeah.
I know
I didn't even know I was
you
asleep.
look up, the TV's watching you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
In these cases, and you think to wonder, people always mention that it's not their brain that's doing this. That's not your consciousness. It's not your mind.
Yeah.
But when your brain is shut off, there's nothing.
Right.
Where can you study something that's not there? Do you know what I mean? I can't even really explain it.
You can't verbalize it.
You
Yeah.
can't really explain it because you're, in all intents purposes, just dead to the world.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
I know.
So, I mean, where's the consciousness? Can you guys ponder that?
Nope.
No, I'm thinking about it, honestly.
There's a guy, I think his name is Bennett. He was talking about that. His name was Bennett. And
he what?
And he was talking about, well, he has a book called Consciousness Explained. And his name is Daniel C. Bennett. And he goes into the whole molecular structure and
of your brain.
But that is the physical aspect of your brain.
And
the physical aspect of your brain that's
you
it's
didn't
doing
let
that.
me finish.
Go ahead. Keep going.
And he talks about hallucinations, how they happen, where do they come from, what makes them happen. It's a pretty good read. Even if you just do the preview of the book, then it's just what he looks at just in general. I mean, it's too much to go into.
And even doing psychedelic drugs, it just changes your chemical structure in your brain. And I wish I knew the name of the receptor, but there's a receptor in the brain that it's either shut off, I believe, during when you take psychedelics. So it's not physical, but you're just changing the structure chemically of the way your brain functions at that time. But it's not long lasting. So again, beyond what you feel under the influence of the psychedelic, where else is your consciousness at? Where else is it?
In a cloud.
I don't know. Who knows? I feel like, though, how what you said, you have to have some type of base or something. For robots to transfer there or to have
to upload into.
To upload. I feel like we transfer. That's what we do as humans.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now I get it.
So I get what you're saying. So as human, as a blood and bone human, we transfer, just like we spoke about in the last episode, reincarnation. Our soul and our spirit moves on and reincarnated into another body. So we're kind of uploading it to someone else.
That too. That's another way of looking at it. Yeah. But also, go ahead.
But at that point, when your brain is dead and shut off, when you're under anesthesia in the surgery, you're not there. Where is that consciousness going then? So you
hit a firewall.
Now you figure that if it's coming from my brain and if it's coming from our mind, if there's nothing there, say for instance, your brain is the food for your consciousness. And that is shut off, I'm going to go find more food. So I'm going to bounce out of here and I'm going to find another brain or somewhere else to go because I'm not getting fed right now because it's gone, because you can be under anesthesia for hours.
Sure.
People have like 18-hour surgeries and under for that long. So your consciousness, is it waiting for you just to wake up and it's
yes.
kind of hanging around knowing that you're under anesthesia and goes,
I'd imagine that it would wait
for a while.
Just because physically it's been halted. I think it pauses until you, just like when you turn off your computer, you shut it down, right? And when you reopen it, it'll say
supposed to be physical.
Why isn't it? Do you physically?
It's not physical. How could it be physical if my consciousness can go from what I am today?
It's why it's a mystery.
And it goes to someone else when I reincarnate it. That's not physical.
You physically halted the brain. It's a firewall. Doesn't mean it won't get out. Like if you pass, then it's going to turn back into energy. Like your body turns back into
energy,
It'll
but
turn
it didn't
into
go
energy.
anywhere.
You know what I mean?
So have you looked up anything as far as people who might have had any experiences under anesthesia where they maybe had an out-of-body experience and saw the whole operation or?
No.
Really? Oh,
No,
okay. Because I was wondering if that's like a thing.
Because that's one of the lectures that I watched, that when people are under anesthesia, they have no one that
Really?
says they've had any type of out-of-body experience or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
that they're shut off totally.
Except for when they're on talk shows and then you hear them say it.
Because that's going back to saying that the anesthesia, it wasn't enough for that person.
Sure.
For instance, they do anesthesia by weight. So they give you that,
Yeah.
Based on the individual.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
People process things differently.
Yeah.
Right.
Although it's done by weight, you could be one of those persons that need more anesthesia.
Right.
Because you're, 200 pounds and they give you, 200 milligrams, doesn't mean that's always going to keep you asleep. It's not going to be exactly the same for everyone.
Right.
But the same for me, if you give me like local anesthesia, that shit don't work on me.
Right.
It goes away very quickly. But if you give me anesthesia to put me out of surgery, you've been there. How long? My surgery's at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm there till 10 o'clock at night because I can't come out of the anesthesia.
Right. Yeah.
So so it differs. So some people can wake up and perceive that they may have had they may have had some out of body experiences. No, they didn't have no experience. What happened was your ass woke up and you were still paralyzed. So now you know everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is why I don't have very many notes on this, because people just don't know. It's only questionable.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why people try to build AI as smart as it is so they can figure it out themselves.
AI won't figure it out either.
But
you can get smarter and smarter and smarter, but you will not figure this out.
Our coding is complex.
Our coding is complex?
It is.
Really?
You don't think so?
We haven't been able to figure. We haven't been able
coded? Us being coded?
Yeah.
So you're equating us to machines.
Basically, we that's what we are. We're not machines, but we are coded. All of us are. We have imprints and things like that. That makes us human. And then that's how we build artificial intelligence. Something like it. You always try to make something like you in the end. It's our part of our ego, our
need for expansion.
I don't think it's just our
expansion.
I don't think
it starts from ego.
I don't think it's ego. I think it's just familiar. That's it.
Recreate.
They want to recreate something that's familiar. So that's why when people go to religion, all their gods look exactly the same, or look like a human. Sorry, not exactly the same, but they all look human.
Sure.
Or some type of human form.
Yeah.
And I think everybody just search for that familiar something familiar.
But no, I'm saying that that's why you can't figure it out. You can't figure us out because our brain, how much do we know about it and what we use? How many books are on consciousness itself?
Or just brain function.
Or just brain function.
There's so many different languages.
Coded. Yeah.
Yeah, there are. They are a lot of different books on this topic. And that's why I started off the show saying that it's one of the most misunderstood subjects in the world, because it is. I mean, just us sitting here having a conversation, we haven't touched anything on it because we don't even know. And like I go back again, I didn't really see anything different from what we think coming out of, the professionals that do this.
We haven't even touched the subconscious.
They can only speculate.
Right.
That's it. The subconscious, the same thing as going back to using psychedelic drugs. That gets into your subconscious, but they intertwine that with your consciousness as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what is what? Is it really that our brain is creating this?
It could be.
The whole mind over matter is all that it could be?
Yeah. A mind over matter. That's why they say it, because you can talk yourself into and out of most anything. Mostly anything, including pain. You can talk yourself out of thinking that you're sick if you keep on telling yourself that. That's why the term comes "fake it till you make it."
That's why,
if you believe it, you can achieve it.
That's why they have these therapists that do these things, because with people that go through depression and things like that, they go see therapists, and that's just puts a patch on your depression.
If it gives you a new perspective, it's just rerouting your brain to think differently.
Yeah, that's true. And I'll talk about that when we talk about psychedelic drugs. But one of the things that some World Science Fair that I watched, they were talking about people that had cancer and using psychedelics, and their whole perspective of life was changed because of psychedelic drugs.
Sure.
I can imagine.
Jimmy, what do you guys think? I mean, it feels like I'm the only one doing the talking. It's supposed to be a conversation.
No, I understand.
I think we're all conversating. I think you're just imagining that we're not.
I think it's just because we don't have like specific answers for, your question as far as when we're under anesthesia, where do we go?
Right.
Heck if I know.
Not only that, but where is our consciousness right now?
Everywhere.
Energy. It's part of our soul.
Everywhere. I mean, what do you mean everywhere? But I'm sitting here, I'm looking at you guys. And so where's my consciousness at this point?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. We have how many different senses? We see, smell, hear. That's all going on at once.
But that's all manufactured by your brain.
Okay. But it's part of it.
But that's not part of your consciousness, though.
Why isn't
That's part of your physical being.
Mm-hmm.
It's energy.
But I mean, as far as perceiving our reality at the moment, it could just be everywhere. I don't know.
I know. That's a great word, is reality. How are we perceiving this reality at this moment? Is it through our physical manifestation of what our brain does? Or is it because our consciousness is aware of our surroundings?
I have no clue.
I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit of both.
I know. It's funny. You did shrug your shoulders like, we ain't on no camera. You got to talk it to the mic.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit of both.
We're sitting here pensive because we don't
understand. Nobody understands. No one understands.
Yeah, you can think on it all day long,
Going back to near-death experiences, I keep bringing up the word psychedelic because a lot of the research about consciousness was based on using psychedelic drugs.
Mm-hmm.
But when a person has a near-death experience, they experience the same thing, or their brain looks the same way as it does when you're on a psychedelic drug. So what they've had was some of the research that were done looking at different brain waves of people. And some of the brain waves, they kind of did it for REM sleep. We're out of it, but our mind is still like we're awake.
Yeah.
Okay. So they looked at people in REM sleep, and they looked at people, they're dreaming during REM sleep and on psychedelic drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So the brain functions the same way. People have near-death experiences. They speculate that brain and these receptors are lacking oxygen to...
Yeah.
It's not getting what it needs to supply, and it makes the same effect as a psychedelic drug, not truly being an out-of-body experience or a near-death experience.
Mm.
So is it just a chemical imbalance in the brain causing people to think that they're having an out-of-body or near-death experience?
I'm not sure because some psychedelics are like synthetic things put together, but some psychedelics are from the earth.
No, when I talk about it, we'll talk about like the real deal.
Oh, okay.
The real psychedelics. We're not going to talk about like meth and shit.
That's not a psychedelic.
I'm just saying. So, well, I mean, we'll talk about, stuff like ayahuasca, which is, I know, and different mushrooms and stuff like that does that. But this is a chemical process in your brain that causes you to, I think, hallucinate. It may be a closer word, but maybe too far.
Yeah.
But to have this experience that you have. But on another note, it has been used as therapy, and it has changed people's perspective on life.
Yeah, that's true.
So the question is, we're just going round and round and round
yeah, definitely.
in circles because we don't know what the consciousness truly is.
It's part of your soul.
And if we're like an advanced machine and all we are just a physical function, at some point that can be turned off.
But I don't think that. I think that that's why we're superior.
Turned off
being.
how? Like to where it's non-existent?
Non-existent.
Yeah, I don't think of it that
You're
way
talking about
either.
your consciousness, or are you talking
Everything. Just shut off. Bye-bye. Click, lights out. Nothing else.
Yeah.
Are you talking about when the Big Bang happens? When the second
Big
Big
Bang.
Bang?
I was
I
about
mean,
to
I
say,
don't
what?
know.
You mean when the sun explodes, apparently?
All of that.
When the sun explodes, the universe will still be around when the sun explodes.
Exactly.
The universe will, but it'll kill humans.
It will because our physical presence here, our body can, sustain the elements once the sun goes out. But something that's pretty interesting about that, even if nothing exists, the theorists still think because of the energy in the universe that it would create something anyway.
It is going to create something, of course.
Even if there's nothing, the nothingness would create something because of the
I
energy
agree.
of the universe.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean,
Because you think of it now, you're like, where we are now, there was some sort of process to that to begin with. And it started from something so minuscule.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're as humans, we still are just a small part of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we look at ourselves, people that are into science look at evolution.
Yeah.
They don't look at Adam and Eve.
No.
With evolution, what we are today is our physical being. We know, all you guys know out there know us as what you are right now.
Mhm.
But through evolution, we started off with maybe some single cell organisms and just kind of grew into where we are today. So at that one point, is that single cell organism conscious? Or did it wait till we evolve into the humanoid figure to be conscious?
Well, there was multiple different forms of humans before we came to, I guess, Homo sapiens, like what we are now.
But they're still humanoid.
Right, exactly. Well, in the Bible, doesn't it say that we were formed in his image?
And that goes to what we said a few minutes ago about something familiar.
Mm-hmm.
These books are all written by man.
Mm-hmm.
So if man wrote these books, they want to make sure it's familiar to you. Do you know what I mean? So is it in people that science look at religion much differently than people that are religious?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of religion is not really based on science. So, and again, it is written by man. It wasn't just bestowed onto us.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. Going back to evolution and the Big Bang and the beginning.
If you say going back to one more time.
Well, I can't, what else can I say? At one point, where did our consciousness start? Where did it begin?
I told you, I think it's energy. That's my opinion. I think it's energy.
But you look at it, I understand what you're saying as far as we're all energy and energy doesn't dissipate. But where does it begin to where we're aware? Just like the same when I was talking about AI becoming sentient and aware. What point as humans did we become aware through our consciousness?
I would imagine from the point of inception.
No, I'm not talking about when you were born. I'm talking about as a species.
That's what I'm saying. Why wouldn't it be from inception?
From the first person born?
Yeah.
When was that first person born? Because we evolved.
I don't
So
know.
are you going the theory of religion, Adam and Eve?
No.
We became conscious
I'm just
when
talking about
they
when
had
we
the
came
first
to
baby?
be. No, I'm just talking about as when we came to be.
So when that single cell organism came in existence, our consciousness became aware.
Yeah,
Is that what you think?
that's what
your
I
thought.
think. That's my thought.
How about you, Shauntel?
You just because you can't make sense of it.
No, you can't make sense of it.
I know it really is hard to make sense of it all because, at least for me, one thought leads into 20 different ones. So this
Yeah,
whole
I
time
know.
y'all were talking, I was thinking about multiple different things.
Sure.
Well, I mean, do elaborate.
Right, exactly. Because you know how when you learn in science, like the first ever, like I guess, mammal. But what
Right.
was before that mammal?
Right.
Like what was the instinct of that, I guess, single cell organism? Did they know, how did they know they had to keep, going to evolve, to recreate, to take in different energy or information to build and to build? It's like you really can't grasp it, not physically, not mentally, like
Not
at all.
Right.
It's just amazing. Like that's why it astounds me every single day.
Yeah.
It's astounding.
Oh,
Is that a good word, Lisa? Astounding. Exuberant.
Mm-hmm.
Extraordinary.
I think the takeaway is that we just don't know, but like all the three topics, they have all been interesting because it is the unknown.
Yeah, it's a good conversation.
And great mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
Because none of us really could be wrong.
And we all have different ideas. That's the greatest part about it.
Yeah. We can't all be wrong. Or you can't say that we're wrong because we can't prove it.
And even scientists, most of that research, in theory, is for some sort of tangible like truth or knowing, but like really, how much do you know?
Yeah.
So
it gives us a good idea though.
What makes us individual if we're part of some big collective of the universe? If our consciousness is in a big collective, what makes us
our
right
coding
now individual? So we're going back to being
it's like ants, right? You know how ants, they all are there to build and protect the queen, right?
Worker bees.
Or worker
so
bees.
We're working for someone.
We're working for the greater good of mankind.
And what's the greater good?
Mankind.
And beyond mankind, what is it?
I don't have that answer. I'm just telling you, we're similar to worker bees and worker ants. We are. That's what they do. They go to work. What is the purpose of just going and walking in circles? You're an ant, but that's your job. And you go carry.
You get on the treadmill and run the treadmill.
You go lift a heavy leaf. Why is this ant carrying this heavy leaf?
Everything has its job.
Everything has a job. But they do it. Their job only in their perspective in this big wide world is
to make the honey.
To make the honey. If you were a bee or if you were an ant, then you protect home and you build it and you expand.
So what do you think our purpose is?
I don't know. Evolve?
That's a huge topic.
Yeah.
Because every single piece, like down to the littlest thing, has its purpose.
Yeah.
So what it goes to, what the bigger point of it all is.
Each individual person can think differently.
Yeah.
About everything.
Mm-hmm.
But your consciousness is still going to be the same from person to person.
Yeah.
So we can't figure out the function of your consciousness.
Yeah.
Right.
Even you can do as many drugs as you want. You can do as many research studies as you want, but you can't figure out what it is really.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. I don't see a way of, at this moment, at this point in time.
Not yet.
I don't see how we can figure it out.
Sure.
Because a computer's not going to do it.
No.
And like I said, you can be as smart as hell. It's still not going to do it.
Right.
Because it's beyond your realm.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in your realm because your consciousness, we can only, when we do studies on the brain.
Yeah.
Is it our brain, or is it our mind,
that's our
or
hub.
is it something else? And what is that something else?
Energy.
Oh
You
my
keep
God.
saying-
Going back
you're
to
talking
it.
about me
I'm gonna
saying
chop
going
you in
back
the
to,
neck.
but yeah, you keep saying energy. I mean, yeah, we understand that we're
I
all
don't
part
know.
of
That's
energy.
my takeaway. I don't have an answer. I don't. That's just, it all leads back to that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with Shauntel, elaborate on a little bit more what you were thinking earlier about, when I was explaining some of this and about consciousness, your consciousness, or just anybody's consciousness.
Right, exactly. Because I mean, there's a base to us, but we all need some sort of, I hate to use a word, but we all need some sort of programming to be an individual, because most of the experiences that you have or the personality traits or whatever are from you being younger and what you saw from your parents and then their parents. So it's like a recycling.
Yeah, that's a learned behavior there.
Right,
A
exactly.
learned behavior.
Remember
but
when
that-
I was talking about uploading? That's part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a learned behavior.
Mhm.
But before that, we get to that point, we still have a consciousness. If we're born, we begin with a consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So your consciousness is being programmed.
Possibly.
But when you have these out of body experiences, or when you're on some type of drug, when you're sleeping, your consciousness or your mind is doing something else.
That's a good question.
That's what I'm saying. It just wilds me out. That's really about it.
I feel like what you
Because it's
said
a
earlier.
deep question. It really is.
Yeah. I think it goes somewhere else until it's physically, or until it's been
Well, we have people out there that's going to be listening to this, and you're listening to it right now, where there's a lot of pauses in between because we just don't know. We can't really wrap our head around what we're even talking about, because even the professionals can't even wrap their head around what is going on with the
I think we should read a couple books. And then
even
come back.
reading books, it all sums up to the same thing. They don't know. We don't know. They can only speculate. That's it.
And give you a
Yeah.
better understanding.
And the only thing that you get out of reading a book is a understanding from that perspective of the author of that book.
Sure.
That's it.
Right.
Because the next book, the perspective could be totally different.
It could be.
Just like a lot of things.
And neither could be wrong. Again,
True. Yeah.
it could be a mixture of all of that. That's why we're so complex. And the supreme being.
If we're a supreme being, then we would know.
No. We're just trying to figure it out.
I think we need to find the aliens who dropped us off on this planet.
Exactly.
And ask them, hey, what's really
What's
going on
good?
here?
Yeah.
Because we
They're
don't
the ones
know.
who programmed us.
Mm.
And we're inside of a big petri dish right now.
I think we probably need to wrap it up because we're not, unless we have more to delve onto.
No.
What about you, Shauntel?
No.
In the subject, what about you? Because we just don't really understand.
I don't
it's
understand
just a
it.
sit down, it's a conversation. Again, you notice I didn't go back to any references. I do have references that I will put in the show notes, but there was nothing for me to really reference off of because it's all the same thing. Is at the end of the day, no one really knows. Only speculation.
We'd
Mhm.
love to get the feedback, though. What do other people think?
Yeah.
It's-
If somebody out there knows more than we do or understands consciousness, hit us up. Let us know, what's going on. But to aliens, it's funny when they talked about like us coming to this earth evolving as single cell organisms and things, and how we're talking about AI,
Mhm.
right? And we're talking about just the advancement of our species. Everybody wants to go to another planet because they're going to screw up this planet and they want to have somebody else, someplace else to live.
right.
So talking about going to another planet, going to Mars or something like that. What if we did that already? So we're just going to keep screwing up all the planets in the universe?
There's some people who say that they are from other planets.
That's true.
Dead planets.
The girl that made herself into Barbie.
I don't know who you're talking about, but
Yeah, she's in a whole new planet, a whole different planet of her
Do you know who
own.
I'm talking about?
no.
The one that did
The
all that
picture,
plastic
yeah,
surgery?
Plastic surgery. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah, she's in the she's No, she's not from another planet. She's from a different world in her
She
brain.
wanted to look just like Barbie. And then
It was that the white girl, because a black girl did it too.
There's such thing as body dysmorphia. So,
but well, outside of being Barbie, she's also this thing.
okay.
So she got the plastic surgery, and then to be perfect like Barbie, she also had an awakening that she is from another
I have to look
planet.
into this because I've heard things like that, but that's why she wants to, somebody wants to look a specific way.
No. This was, I guess, during or after. She had already got her surgeries.
Hey.
She was already fake Barbie.
Not on this topic.
You started it.
One thing I failed to mention or to bring up was meditation. I mean, what do you guys, before we wrap it, we didn't even talk about that. I mean, we were so delved into trying to understand. So what are your thoughts about meditation and the consciousness?
You go.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, I meditate as often as possible. And as far as why I even started the practice was to focus my thoughts and my mind and to relax and see what comes up and observe my thoughts from a, I guess not really a different perspective, but from a different perspective. And sometimes when you're in meditation, you kind of see different things. And I'm not going to say hallucinate because I don't know if that's the word, but sometimes you can see interesting things when you meditate.
Yeah.
Colors, images,
but it brings
people,
clarity.
Words. Yeah, exactly. It brings some sort of clarity or relaxation.
Yeah. You can tap into your consciousness by meditation. I think of it as like Dr. Strange. You know how you see some theories or you see different things and he kind of goes into whatever it is.
How do you know you're tapping into your consciousness though?
Well, what else would you be doing? What else is it?
Again, going back to psychedelics, you're not really
but you're
tapping
not
into your
hallucinating.
consciousness. You're just chemically altering.
Okay.
So what
Your
you're saying as
mind.
human beings, we're limited.
Well, our mind is limited.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So we can't really go beyond
Yeah.
I don't believe
what
that.
we can only speculate. No, I'm saying you don't believe what? That
Go ahead. You go ahead. Maybe I misunderstood.
I think there's something bigger going on,
Sure.
but we can't just
Articulate
put our
it.
finger on. Not even articulate. We cannot put our finger on it.
Right.
And isn't it great we're at a point in history where we can have this information and speak on it?
Yeah, without thinking that you're crazy.
Yeah,
I know.
because
a long time ago they would chop your head off.
You'd have been a
exactly
witch.
we've come so full circle with all of this, especially in the information age, quote unquote, where we can look up these research, and theories and all this other thing. Like we can have this conversation. So I feel like that speaks to the bigger purpose of us as humans and our consciousness evolving in some way.
Agreed.
Okay.
But meditation is therapy. Everybody should do it.
I'm not going to say it's therapy.
Yeah, it is therapy.
It's
That's
therapy
what
for me.
They put you under hypnosis and all that stuff for therapy. They do different things for therapy. They give you medicine for therapy. They give you have people meditate for therapy.
And your brain tries to run away from you when you meditate because it can't stay in one place.
That's why you have to train your...
You have to train your brain to go back.
Okay, you just said that. But when you're under anesthesia, how come your brain doesn't run away then? When you're in the default network mode of your brain.
You just see black.
You just see black. You don't even see nothing.
That's what I'm saying. You don't.
Because you hit a firewall.
Okay, back to AI.
That must be some good stuff in anesthesia.
I'm telling you, they physically did it. It's like a firewall.
It's because they shut off your brain.
A firewall. They gave it to you. They physically did it.
That's freaking scary to think about.
But then if you were to die, then it's released.
Okay,
That's
so...
just my opinion.
So it's trapped in a box.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Is we're trapped in. It's just
you're
trapped
physically trapped until you're released.
Okay. So when you have this out of body experiences, you're out of your body. So what then? I mean, I don't really get it.
I was talking about surgery. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, but I'm saying that's still even part of it. But if you have an out of body experience and people that said they lucid dream and things like that, your subconscious and your conscious just gets up and leave, right? So how could it be trapped physically in our box as a body when it's not a physical being?
Because you don't know. Because it's a firewall. It's only temporary. I'm sure you still dream. I'm sure you do.
You just don't remember the dream.
Yeah,
Well,
you
because
can't-
there's a lot of people that say that they don't dream. They haven't dreamed for like years, but you do technically dream. You just don't remember them.
My
you
sister
don't.
says that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they give you medicine to help you for that now, but
To help you dream,
to help you dream, to have to put you through the
REM cycle.
Yeah, I
the
think
REM and the
people,
deep and
some
all
people
of
that don't sleep correctly get so little REM sleep that they
Exactly.
probably don't dream.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because
so-
we average, I think everybody averages under 2 hours of REM sleep per night,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and the rest of it's light sleep.
But I think that honestly, I do think that you dream. I just, you can't pinpoint where it goes though.
All right. Any other thoughts, you guys? Because we're kind of just running on.
The reason why I think that too is because, like people with mental health issues, when they have even multiple personalities and all of that, you can't even explain how it's developed and where they get these personalities from. And you know how when you do different movies or different movies that you've seen and people, they'll show, give a visual with the corner of your brain and a little kid sitting at the window, I don't know, and then you've delved deep into your subconscious and there's a little kid there and you have to talk him out of coming to the room and gain his power back or his resilience back, whatever the case may be. My point is that I think that your brain is doing other things. It has to try to make an understanding, or your conscience has to try to make an understanding or a way out of what's happening to you.
True.
That's so
True.
I think it doesn't, it's a
It
temporary
protects
fix.
itself.
Sure.
Okay, Shauntel.
I mean, because how else do you explain comas and things like that?
that's a whole different thing.
I'm saying, but it's part of your conscience, right?
Your conscience is trapped. Is that the word you use? Your conscience is
But
trapped in your
what I'm
brain.
saying is, whereas it's constantly thinking, it's somewhere.
Yeah, it's somewhere. And where is it? That's the question.
Well, that's what I'm saying to you. You said when they put you to sleep under anesthesia. I was just making the point that it does go somewhere. It just doesn't sit there.
Okay. Any final thoughts, Shauntel?
No, not necessarily.
Nothing else you can think of?
No, because we'd be sitting here for another hour.
I'm telling you.
I can't think of anything either, because I didn't get a lot of understanding even watching the lectures and watching just
Because you can't
different
pinpoint
things,
it.
because you cannot pinpoint what is really happening with the consciousness.
The rabbit holes you go
So-
into, you're just confusing
Thank-
yourself more.
So thank you guys for listening to this. If you're still listening at this moment right now, if you do have anything you'd like to add to the show, email me at jwcarterfilmworks@gmail.com. Join the Facebook group Mysteries and Beliefs Podcast with John Carter, and hit me up on Instagram. Leave your questions. Until next time, or next time. Ciao.
Bye.